Hello, my name is Yvonne Abro and I'm here to tell you about my new book, Pagan Roots, which you can buy online from all the usual places, and you can get it in either ebook format or paperback. And you may notice the similarity between the cover of the book and the painting behind me, which is a beautiful painting by Lydia Knox. So check out her work too. And I'm really stoked to have the painting as the cover for the book. So I am going to talk about myth or mythology. Now, myth is a word that's often misunderstood because we tend to talk about myth in the sense of, oh, that's a myth, meaning it's not true. So it's definitely a word that needs reclaiming, even though it's a word we often use in pagan conversations. So we don't tend to take our mythology literally, but it's an important component of our rituals and celebrations. By engaging with these stories, we encounter different archetypes and ways of being, and how the conflicts between different archetypes might be resolved. In general culture, people often say it's a myth to mean that the thing referred to is not true. It is also often the case that Christian stories are referred to as theology, but pagan stories are referred to as mythology. This tends to give pagan stories a sort of lesser status. So a lot of pagans have started just referring to Christian mythology now, which is perfectly logical. So I'd like to offer a different meaning of true in this context. Mythology is true if it rings true and it reflects real life. Mythological stories often contain ethical lessons, even if the ethical lesson is sometimes on how not to behave. They are also meaningful in that they re-enchant the world. So there's a whole sociological theory of disenchantment about how the science and technology has disenchanted the world. And there's a number of sociologists of religion, including Peter Berger, who have talked about re-enchanting the world with mythology and regarding everything as sacred. And this re-enchantment was the point of Tolkien's ideas about myth appear. So at this point, I'd like to share a poem by Tolkien, which is an excerpt from his longer piece, Myth Appear, written in 1931. He sees no stars who does not see them first, of living silver made that sudden burst to flame like flowers beneath an ancient song, whose very echo after music long has since pursued. There is no firmament, only a void, unless a jewelled tent, myth-woven and elf-patterned, and no earth, unless the mother's womb whence all have birth. So Tolkien wanted to see the world as myth-woven and elf-patterned, in other words, enchanted. Mythological or metaphorical truisms are deeply embedded in cultures, and they constantly influence the way people think. Sometimes these metaphorical constructs can be used cynically to manipulate people. At other times they may be used to great effect to transform the psyche. Myths and legends and folk tales are valuable in that they illuminate the psyche from a different angle, providing a stimulus to stir the depths of the psyche. Events in these stories rarely have a single meaning. Instead, different meanings can emerge through further meditation on the material. For instance, the green girdle worn by Gawain and then adopted by the rest of King Arthur's court in Gawain and the Green Knight can take on multiple connotations depending on your perspective. Gawain regards it as a badge of shame, indicating that he was not perfectly honourable in the story. On the other hand, he was just trying to save his life. This seems reasonable to me, because he didn't disclose to his host, Sir Bertilac, that he had been given the girdle by Bertilac's wife, because he knew it would be useful when he encountered the Green Knight. From a magical perspective, however, it can be seen as the power of the feminine protecting him from harm. It can also be seen as a symbol of pragmatism and cunning, and it involves the reader in a question. If you were given a magical object that prevented you from being killed, wouldn't you accept the gift? I know I would. The same story can also be different from one telling to the next. Cliff Easterbrook, a friend of mine who is a storyteller, said that he once told a story where he put in a sound effect of a sword being drawn, shing, and it made the audience laugh. So they ended up laughing throughout the rest of the story. Another time he told the story and people didn't laugh at the sound effect. Instead, the audience received the tale as a tale of mystery and wonder. Stories can change their meaning over time, too. In the story of Hades and Persephone, it is debatable whether Persephone wanted to go with Hades or whether he abducted her against her will, which puts a completely different slant on the story. And furthermore, the distinction between mythos and logos is important. Mythos is metaphorical truth, something that rings true, that's an accurate symbol for representing something. Logos is literal truth, such as empirical knowledge about how stuff works. So myth is complex and multifaceted, and it's an essential part of the pagan revival. It's not untrue, but rather a different way of expressing truth as a symbol or a metaphorical story to exemplify the truth. So if you've enjoyed this video, check out the other videos in this series, and also check out the book, Pagan Roots, Reclaiming Concepts of the Sacred, and it's available from 1000 Volt Press, and it's available on all the places that you would expect to find books, like online stores. So have a great day and be happy, and see you soon.